The lid, Patrick, the lid. The lid. Unscrew the lid. The lid. The lid. The lid. No, up. Go up. The lid. Yeah, you're getting warmer. Yeah, yes. Yeah, you're burning hot, Patrick. The lid. Yeah. It's like he's so dumb, he can't even figure out where the lid on a jar is.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 2 of The Fourth Wall. I am your host, Griffin Schiller, and this is the show where we break down the fourth wall of the film industry as we get an inside look through our conversations with industry professionals ranging from directors, actors, you name it. This show is, of course, part of the Playlist Podcast Network, where you can find our weekly film discourse show discussing the latest releases, along with the rest of our show catalog. Whatever your fix is, we got you covered. First of all, I just want to thank everyone who listened to episode number 1, my conversation with Hans Zimmer. Those of you who shared it around, gave me compliments personally or on social media. I just really want to thank you for your support of that episode. It went better than I ever could have imagined, and hopefully the show continues to do well. So, and that's all thanks to you also. Thank you for that again. But getting into today's guest, once again, I just can't believe that this individual is on the show, because this person is the voice of one of my favorite shows of all time and my favorite show growing up as a kid. I had the privilege of speaking with voice actor Tom Kenny, who is the voice of SpongeBob, of course. I spoke to him at San Diego Comic-Con, and weirdly enough, I've never been starstruck or anything like that, but during our conversation, Tom does a little bit from the show, and I think my reaction was the closest I've ever been to being starstruck, because it was such a surreal moment for me to have the voice of SpongeBob literally do one of the best jokes out of the entire series. So that was just a real treat all around. Not only has Tom voiced the iconic character SpongeBob on SpongeBob SquarePants for the past 20-something years, and the show is about to go into its 13th season, which is just insane to me, but he's also the voice of many other iconic characters, such as Heifer in Rocko's Modern Life, the Ice King in Adventure Time, the narrator and mayor in the Powerpuff Girls, Carl in Johnny Bravo, and Dog in Cat Dog, just to name a few. During our conversation, we talk about the impact SpongeBob has had on his life, how he transitioned from pretty raunchy sketch comedy into voicing one of the most iconic animated characters on a children's television program of all time, some of the joke writing process, and he mentions that he's currently working on the new live-action SpongeBob film, It's a Wonderful Sponge, due out next year. This is by far one of the most entertaining and fun interviews I've conducted thus far, and I hope you all feel the same after listening to it. A few side notes here. The interview was conducted on the floor at San Diego Comic-Con, so there's a lot of background noise going around. I did my best to minimize it, but it did seep through ever so slightly, so if you hear some bells ringing or countdowns, that's why. And the second thing is the interview was conducted by myself and my co-host on my James Bond podcast, The Words Are Not Enough, Brody Saravelli, and so that's why there are 2 interviewers and not 1. But enough chit-chat, let's get into this thing. I am so excited to share with you my conversation with Tom Kenny. Honestly, it's an honor just to be talking to you, sir.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you. Thank you for so many great memories growing up and just all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Somebody's counting down over there.
Right. We're in the middle of it. For those of you who don't know,
total madness.
It is chaos here at the Krusty Krab,
yes,
as per usual.
And this is the slow night of Comic-Con.
Oh, yeah,
and it's complete madness.
And it's going to get nuts,
Yeah, well, you're very welcome. It's nice to be a part of something that, kids dug when they were still formulating themselves, and then they bring it into their adult lives. It's kind of like comfort food. It's kind of like, mom's meatloaf.
Well, and you just got renewed for a 13th season, which is
I just heard that today.
Yeah,
I did. I swear, I just heard that today. I was like, they're like, hey, we got picked up for season 13. I'm like, oh, cool.
So what? I mean, like, what has the journey been like through 13 seasons? Because I have to imagine there has been like transitions throughout the years. Things have changed a little bit, and how you go about doing stuff.
It's funny. It's been 13 seasons, but 20 years. And in between some of those lost years, they were doing the couple of the movies,
Right.
You know, so we were like SpongeBob, and then they took a couple of breaks that were maybe a year here and there while they wrote new episodes or whatever.
Yeah.
But really, SpongeBob's been nonstop for me since like 1997. Like it's never really stopped.
Yeah.
And he's always been a part of my life, and it really has been a journey. It's like. But it's not kind of an "are we there yet" like boring road trip.
Sure, yeah,
it's kind of like, you know, when are we going to be there? It's just kind of this crazy road trip where new and amazing experiences just keep presenting themselves. Like because of SpongeBob, I've gotten to just be around so much craziness and fun stuff and do stuff that I never thought I would ever do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wave the checkered flag at a NASCAR race that had a SpongeBob race car and a Patrick race car. Wrote a song for a Broadway musical. Yeah, you know, it's like SpongeBob's Steve Hillenburg gave me like this crazy choose your adventure book, when he cast me as SpongeBob. And there's a million stories like that where, Bill and I, Fagerbaki, Patrick, were just in the Royal Palace in Monaco, like with Prince Albert of Monaco. And he's got two 4-year-old twins that like SpongeBob. It was like, wow, we're actually in the Royal Palace. You know what I mean?
I can't even
this
imagine.
This might be the only Royal Palace I'll ever get invited into. And odds are, chances are. So there's so many times over the years where we've looked at each other and gone, wow, look what SpongeBob gave us in terms of experience. And sometimes it's a different kind of experience. Sometimes it's, helping out somebody who's sick or something like that, where SpongeBob, maybe they're in a hospital or whatever, children's hospital, and SpongeBob is the thing that makes them laugh. And you bring in the SpongeBob voice and the Patrick voice, and they feel better, for a couple of minutes. And it's there's stuff like that that's just, and it keeps on coming.
Yeah, it's eternal. It lives on.
It's nonstop, and more to come.
No, what I think something that's fascinating about at least your journey with this is like, because you started in stand up and a lot of sketch comedy.
Yeah.
And so when you get hired on, like, something that comes to mind is Mr. Show, which is the exact opposite of something like SpongeBob. I mean, there's there's the crass humor involved, but it's so like, how do you when you get a role like SpongeBob, how do you make that transition?
It's not so much a transition as just doing what's right for that job, and I guess I always wanted to be a character actor. I never cared about movie stars. Like, I'm bored of movie stars, but I always liked the guy, whenever I was watching a movie or TV show, I'd always focus on the character actor, like wow, that guy always plays the crabby hotel desk clerk in everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That guy's in 150 things, always kind of playing the same guy. But then you'll see him and you go, wow. In this one, he's like a hitman or something like that. And you go, wow, character actors is where it's at, because you could be anything. And voiceover is kind of the ultimate character acting job, because it doesn't even matter what you physically look like. So you can be literally anything you can sound like. You can be. And I came at it. It's funny. I always wanted to be a voiceover, animation voiceover person since I was really little, but it was hard to break into. It was a really tough tent to get my nose under. And in the meantime, I just kind of tried to do other stuff, stand up and writing and sketch comedy. And that stuff I actually found open doors into that earlier and easier. But I guess what those things have in common is a certain, like Mr. Show and SpongeBob, I think, have some common DNA in that they're trying not to be like everything else.
Right.
Like, but still drawing on classic stuff, like the way Mr. Show draws on classic Monty Python and the way Monty Python would interconnect their sketches.
Yeah.
And SpongeBob is drawing on Ren and Stimpy and Looney Tunes kind of stuff, but you're still trying to slap your own special sauce on it. And it's sketch comedy really is just, being as many different people as you can be.
Sure.
And that's really what voiceover is too. So in some ways they're kind of the same. In some they're really different. But there was a certain similar anarchic spirit to Steve Hillenburg that in some ways was quite similar to Bob and David.
Sure.
In a way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's fascinating. So something that for me is what one of the things I love about SpongeBob are the jokes, the writing. It's because it's always just, it's very clever, it's fast, and it's witty. one of my favorite jokes is the Patrick Wallet gag. I think that's just classic slapstick.
yes,
Yeah, he's like,
yes.
it's not my wallet. I mean, like,
Yes.
you know, that's stuff I quote all the time. And so I'm curious for you, is there like a specific line of dialogue or like a gag or a joke or something when you're recording in the studio, you die?
Well, we laugh all the time. I mean, we laugh. There's usually, we're lucky that the show is a really fun show to do. And I voice direct the sessions. I'm the voice director on the show. So I always try to keep it a fun, freewheeling atmosphere. Still getting work done, but you don't want it to feel like you're punching a clock and working at Dunder Mifflin either. So it's like, you know, it's fun. And now, okay, guys, wait. Now we got to get to it. Quiet. Let's get to work. And, you know, it's people that come in and sit in on the sessions, like visitors, are like, I've never seen people have so much fun at their job. And I say it's really fun. And there's work to be done too, and things you got to do, schedules you got to hit. And you know, it's not all fun and games, but there is a lot of fun involved in it. And I can't even remember what your question was. The humor, the jokes.
Like a favorite joke that you have?
You know, the thing that makes me laugh every time I see it, and I like the stuff that spins out of really simple situations and then just takes it way too far. Like SpongeBob, like Patrick not being able to open the lid of a jar. The lid, Patrick, the lid, unscrew the lid, the lid. No, up, go up, the lid. You're getting warmer. Yes, you're burning hot, Patrick, the lid. It's like, he's so dumb, he can't even figure out where the lid on a jar is. And that goes on. We kept that going for like 10 minutes in the booth, you know, and we were dying. And you're just trying not to break, you know.
So in the script, does it say like Tom Riff or
you know, sometimes they will put stuff like that, or they'll have it written, but they'll say, "This is just a roadmap. You guys go where you want to go."
So it's almost, there's like entirely too much improv going on, I can imagine.
Yes, although we always do, the formula is we do 2 takes as written, so you got what's on the page, and then the 3rd take is the anything goes, shits and giggles, and so you keep that one going. So then you have the crazy pass, as we call it, and that's the one that you do.
Wow, that's incredible. Speaking of the humor, though, more so there's a language component to the humor in SpongeBob, but there's also like a visual component to it.
Yeah.
And I guess as a voice actor, that's got to be intimidating because you've got to sort of match these crazy visuals that they're giving you. And do the animators ever give you like storyboards or animatics to sort of look at before you perform?
Oh, every time. Not an animatic, because the order that our show does it in is that actor and voice director / voice director gets the storyboard, know where everything goes. We record it. You know where you're going because the storyboards are very clear, and then then they animate to those tracks.
Gotcha.
So, but what's amazing to me, you talked about the verbal component of the humor, the visual stuff kind of translates to every country. But like when you go on, gosh, what did my kids just show me that was, it was like a YouTube video of, it was some scene from SpongeBob done in like 48 languages.
Oh, wow.
And they just showed it from all the different countries. And you hear all the different SpongeBobs from all the different, the International League of SpongeBobs. And it's amazing. That's what blows my mind, is that the verbal humor somehow manages to translate. And SpongeBob's really simple, I think, you can watch a new episode of SpongeBob that just got animated last week, and it can be the first episode you've ever seen, and you know what it is. You know what I mean? You don't need to watch all 12 seasons.
Exactly.
Okay, that's the hyperactive positive guy. That's the dumb friend. That's the crabby neighbor. That's the little guy that wants to take over the world. Okay, I get it. That's the greedy boss. That's the butt kicking squirrel that does karate. That's all you need.
Classic archetype.
And so once it's not, other shows, like if I know a show is in its 13th season and I haven't watched it yet, I'm never watching it. I'm like,
Exactly.
I don't.
It gives you freedom to play
Yes,
into the fan base.
like
yeah.
I don't know. I hardly watch any TV whatsoever because people go, "Hey, you have to watch such and such," and I go, "Well, how many seasons are there?" And they go 6, and I go, "No, I cannot sit. I can't sit still for that long."
Yeah.
Yep. I'm only 57. I don't have that many years left. I got to go out and do stuff.
Yeah. We did have 2 final questions for you, Brody. I'll give you one, and then I'll take one.
Yeah, man, I'll take them.
One I did want to ask you about is because you have the new movie coming out. It's a
Yes.
Wonderful Sponge. I wanted to. What can we expect from it? What was your take after like reading the script for it and whatnot?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I just did a session on it yesterday, as a matter of fact, before I came down here to Comic-Con. Me and Bill did some SpongeBob and Patrick scenes together, and it's the movies are different. They got to kind of be big and grandiose because it's a movie. So on the show, we're free to just delve into like stuff like SpongeBob opening a jar or Patrick opening a jar for 5 minutes, or SpongeBob learning to tie his shoe for 11 minutes, and so this is a much bigger adventure like the movies have to be. And really the script keeps changing. We keep doing stuff and then figuring it out. Some of the stuff they rewrite the scene and go, I think we thought of a better way to do this, and it's insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then final question.
Oh, yeah. No, so my final question actually kind of jumps a little bit away from SpongeBob for a quick second.
Love
it. Basically, just another icon from my childhood, apart from SpongeBob, that you are responsible for, is Spyro the Dragon.
Oh, cool.
Who you recently just revisited.
Yes.
And so I was wondering what that process was like of coming back to the character after basically a decade or so away, and
maybe more.
Yeah, honestly. And what was that process like of revisiting that and re-recording lines you did in the past, but also doing Spyro the Dragon, the first game, which you weren't a part of?
Yes, it was interesting. I think last year's San Diego Comic-Con was when we were doing all kinds of PR for that Spyro, the rebooted Spyro games, and. Yeah, I think I was either the second or third Spyro. I think Carlos Alazraqui may have preceded me. I think Jess Harnell might have done Spyro for a minute.
Wow.
And I think there was also, what's his name, Frodo.
Why am I blanking on this?
Oh my gosh,
Wood.
Elijah Wood!
Yeah.
I can't believe I just called him Frodo. I love Elijah Wood. Elijah, that was more about me having a senior moment than dissing you. I don't have as many brain cells as I used to. Sorry, Elijah Wood. But yeah,
SpongeBob mode.
So it was interesting because they wanted to redo the games. They wanted the Spyro voice to be consistent. So. They told me I'm the fan favorite Spyro, which is nice.
Absolutely.
And so I got picked, and then it was just trying to sound not old. Come on, Sparks, we're going down to Dragon Shores. How's that sound?
More like retirement.
I sound like Old Man Jenkins from SpongeBob. But the sound files were not in good enough shape. So that's why they had to re-record them with a higher fidelity.
Gotcha.
So basically, I stood there in front of a screen. They would show me the gameplay and play my read from 20 years ago, and I would just try to match it as exactly as possible because gamers are intense about that.
They are, absolutely are. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time.
Hey,
it was
man,
really
thanks, Griffin.
amazing
Thanks,
talking.
Brody.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on the show. It was really nice talking to you.
Well, there you have it. There was our conversation with Tom Kenny. I still cannot believe that he did the lid gag in person. That was something that I will never forget. I hope you all enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed talking with Tom. And if you did, be sure to leave us feedback in the comment section below of wherever you're listening to this show. And if you're listening to this on your podcatcher of choice, be sure to leave us a rating and a review, as it greatly helps get the show noticed, and it lets us know what you want to see more of or how we can improve and all that jazz. But the most important thing is I want to hear from you all, and I want to know what your favorite SpongeBob episode is. You can either tweet at me at Griff Schiller, or you can let me know down in the comment section of wherever you're listening to this show. As I mentioned before, this show is of course part of the Playlist Podcast Network, where you can find all sorts of film-related talk shows. Whatever your fix is, I'm sure we got you covered. So be sure to subscribe to that on iTunes, Spotify, Spotify or wherever you find podcasts. Thank you all for listening to this episode once again. I am really enjoying this show. It's been a lot of fun to talk to my guests thus far, and I'm going to give you guys a little tease for who next week's guest is going to be. I'm going to be talking with the director of the new Fast and Furious spin-off film, Hobbs and Shaw. I'm talking about, of course, Mr. David Leitch, so that should be a fun one. You're definitely going to want to stay tuned for that. But until then, thank you all for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.